Welcome to the Scam Economy with your host, Matt Binder.
Yes, the scam economy rolls on. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the show. I am your host, Matt Binder, and today we're going to be discussing your paycheck. Yes, that's right. You are probably massively underpaid by your employer, but imagine how much less you would make if you decided, I don't know, say 4, 5, 6 months ago that you were going to start taking your paycheck in crypto. Things probably aren't going how you would expect right now if you are one of those unfortunate individuals. Now, before we get to that, and before I plug some things, I just want to bring up how the last episode of Scam Economy focused on Elon Musk and his love and connection to the world of cryptocurrency. And in that episode, I brought up his electric car company, Tesla, and their own crypto holdings. Well, literally days after that episode aired, Tesla announced in their quarterly earnings that they sold off 75% of their Bitcoin during the crash. You know, it's interesting how Elon Musk really flaunted and made it publicly known when Tesla was buying crypto, but sort of was on the hush-hush and only announced it when they absolutely had to, well after the fact, when they sold off and left everyone they told about their crypto investment holding the bag. But just wanted to mention that here because, you know, scam economy, always timely, always prescient. And to support the work on this show, please go to patreon.com/MattBinder to subscribe and help this show grow. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/MattBinder, the Twitch channel at twitch.tv/MattBinder. As always, you can connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account and give a free Twitch Prime subscription to me. Free meaning free for you. Amazon pays me. Also, at Matt Binder on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you're on social media, just search my name. It'll surely come up. Scameconomy.com for the podcast version of this show. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Leave a review on Spotify. And without any further ado, let's get to the latest episode on people taking their paychecks in cryptocurrency. And joining me now to discuss all of this is Quinn Myers, author of the upcoming book, Remember the Internet, Volume 3, Google Glass. Quinn, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on, Matt. This is a pleasure.
Now, I came across your recent piece in MEL Magazine, and you know, for people who don't know, who haven't seen it, I should say, go check it out. It's the guys who took their paychecks in crypto are feeling the burn. And, you know, I've been covering on this show over the past, 2 months or so, the crypto crash that started with, you know, Terra Luna and then Celsius and Voyager and all these other crypto lenders that are continuing to fail and, you know, basically, I don't even want to say share the pain because the pain's not being shared. Basically skirting the pain off on their customers and clients by basically not letting them withdraw their money. And I'm sure, you know, the owners and the executives over at Celsius and, Luna, Terra and, Voyager and all these other crypto lenders, they'll all be just fine, I'm sure. It's going to be their customers who end up hurting. But, you know, I've been covering all of this for these past few months, and I wanted to sort of, you know, because it's almost like, it's kind of ridiculous how it's almost like literally every single week, it feels like almost, there's a new crypto lender following the same exact storyline here. Same exact thing. Oh, we're not going to pause withdrawals. Boom. A couple days later, withdrawals paused. Oh, we're figuring things out. We're going to get you your money. Everything's okay. They're filing for bankruptcy. Oh, don't worry about it. You should freaking worry about it if you're a customer of theirs. And so, it's getting quite monotonous covering some of this stuff if you're a listener of Scam Economy, I think at least. So I'm trying to bring people new perspectives of how this is affecting the people who are being the most hurt by this. And then I came across your piece, and it's really fantastic because it speaks with people who, as the title says, took their paychecks in crypto, and thanks to the crypto crash, I'm assuming, do not have exactly the amount they made if they were taking their money in fiat currency like US dollars. Was my guess correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to talk to these guys, especially the guys you don't hear from. The Bitcoin maxis and the guys on Twitter. So I try to find guys who probably saw Matt Damon plug on the Super Bowl, or I don't know. Every other week there's like a story like NFL players taking his massive salary in Bitcoin, and I always think I wonder there's got to be just there's got to be a lot of just normal dudes who are just this is probably a good idea. I should do it. I'll be rich, or I'll get more money. So I went out and found them. Just kind of, a lot of them are in these Reddit threads that I put in the piece, kind of talking about their experience and how it's gone. And since then, it hasn't gone great, I'll say.
Right. And, I actually want to touch on what you brought up about the Matt Damon commercial during the Super Bowl and the sports stars, because that is a huge thing. Obviously, crypto in general has tried to, and I've done an episode on the Super Bowl commercials. I've done an episode on Celsius where I discuss Celsius's partnership with, oh my God, I forgot which MLB team, but literally the night Celsius paused withdrawals and all the information about the company failing was coming out. Literally, I'm watching a clip of a commercial that MLB team played and shared on their Twitter account from Celsius, who was the team sponsor. And then I recently, I think a week or two ago, had an episode on Voyager where I discuss how they partnered with Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks, and they were the official Mavericks crypto partner, and the Mavericks were promoting Voyager. So this has been huge in sports, and they obviously know what they're doing. They want to get, like you mentioned, who you speak to when you try to do your pieces, the common everyday, what they would call the retail investor. But specifically to this piece, there was a very strong push among individual athletes who were quite publicly broadcasting that they were going to take their professional salaries, and it's been unclear in some cases whether they were taking their whole salary directly from their team in crypto, or if they were just in some cases just taking the payment for promoting the crypto company, that salary as they didn't quite, some of them probably did a little bit of both. Some of them probably did just one and not the other. But they made a big to-do about, hey, we're taking our payment in crypto.
Right. And where this really took off is, so there's a few levels of guys I talked to. One was Kai Morris, and he's he described himself as a blockchain ethicist. He works in the industry. Taking crypto for payment he did it because it kind of showed that he was invested in the industry and everything, and it helped him get hired. But this really took off for people like the other person in the article, which was Brian, who's a line cook in Wisconsin. I got an email from Coinbase around, I think, February of this year, and said, hey, we can within a few presses of a button, we'll just hook right up to your employer's payment portal, and some of your paycheck will go directly into whatever crypto you want. You don't have to pay the fees that you normally pay, like you're normally paying anyway. There's a cheap way to do it, and that's when I feel like it's really taken off. And I don't know how many are out there who signed up for the program. And now I think today FTX announced that they are also doing direct deposits, and it's like you said, they're all like they all do the same thing. It's all just a cyclical scam.
Now that's real. The two people you spoke to are really interesting because they do come from completely different backgrounds. Now, Kai Morris, the blockchain industry worker that you spoke to, you said that he took his salary in crypto in order to help his job prospects, or was it to directly get hired for a job? Which was it again?
So it in his mind, if he did not take payment in crypto, whatever it was, like, then he said the blockchain industry might see him as someone not a true believer. So him being a true believer, by signaling that he's a true believer, it helps him get these jobs because then he'll get paid. But that also includes, in one case, he got paid by a company in their specific coin for after a job, got paid for it, went to change it into like USD coin or something more stable, and the market crashed and it was worthless. So he got no payment for that because the company's coin just lost all its value.
So wow. I mean, so we're not even talking about people who are solely taking their paycheck, or in Kai's case, in that specific instance, like just like freelance payment in crypto. Mm-hmm. They're not even just talking about like taking it in like Bitcoin or Ether on the Ethereum network. We're talking like real obscure, like some case sounds like fly by night, like altcoin, shitcoin type deals here.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yep. It's rough. And he said he did for a while. He got paid in like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And a lot of these guys who do this, they lose a huge chunk of their paycheck every 2 weeks to paying like all the fees, all the transfer fees, the deposit fees, the withdrawal fees, like all the gas fees. And I just can't imagine being like, okay, I'm going to do this and lose $80 of my paycheck every week for transaction fees.
Right. Now here's the thing. Like you mentioned that, and I hear this from a lot of crypto advocates, how, they do this to avoid all the usual fees involved with banking. And listen, I know there are ridiculous fees involved with banking in terms of like, overdraft. If you try to use your debit card, for example, and your bank account is empty and you use it, and you get charged for doing that. Or, for example, some, honestly, many, I want to say most banks now, at the very least, have minimum amounts that you're required to keep in your account. Otherwise, every statement cycle, you do get a fee. If you like drop, for example, with my bank, if you dropped under $100, there's like a $25 fee or whatever. So I'm not saying that these fees don't exist, but in your piece, it seems like the individuals you spoke with speak of like regular fees that are involved with getting like paid direct deposit in their bank account from their company. And maybe I'm not rich or close to it. I live paycheck to paycheck. But I have not, other than those things I just mentioned, which without a doubt affects people who are poor or impoverished and don't have those minimums. But if you have like a regular job and you're staying above those things, like I don't get what fees are these guys talking about. Like I don't know of any other fees that are involved with getting these direct deposits in your account. I get paid direct deposit bi-weekly from my main job. I get direct deposits from my payments via like the small payments that like YouTube and Twitch and Patreon gives me for my work doing my shows. I don't get any like fees directly correlated with that direct deposit. Did they go further into what fees they were trying to avoid?
No, they didn't. I don't, and I think most of their motivation was thinking either the value of their payments would increase, which would give them more money, or I think, well, the other thing too was like it wasn't just about price. It's also just like insanely more complicated because they some of them get their payments in Bitcoin, and then they have to pay for bills, they have to pay for rent, they have to pay for cable, Netflix, everything, and so they have to like then go to Bitcoin, turn Bitcoin into dollars, or in one of their cases, he just like bought gift cards for Netflix every month, and that's how he paid his Netflix fees.
Wow,
So it's just a huge headache.
Right. It doesn't sound like there's any like avoidance of usual banking fees. Like there's no reason, like unless they're like misconstruing what's going on here. Like they're trying to just put their money in savings accounts, which I believe you do get hit with if you are constantly like withdrawing from your savings account. But as someone who cannot afford to have a savings account, I don't have a savings account with my bank. I have a checking account. And as long as I don't, spend more than what's in my account, and as long as I don't drop below that $100 minimum, there are zero fees involved with anything I do. I can withdraw money from any ATM that is involved with my bank. No fees involved. I can, and that's with any bank, has that same sort of rules. I can use my debit card. No fees involved with that. I can transfer money as long as it's not like a wire transfer. Like if I'm just paying a bill or something, no fees involved with like paying like the Con Ed bill and things like that. That's always baffled me. Like, yes, if you're talking about people who don't even have the amount of money to have a bank account, I totally get it. Crypto is not the answer. They don't, they always say crypto is going to bank the unbanked. Well, with all the fees involved with crypto, it certainly isn't any better than the fees involved with banks for people who are, poor and won't hit those minimums with their bank account. But in terms of people who can avoid those banking fees, they can't avoid those crypto fees.
Not at all. You mentioned savings account too. Like when this Coinbase direct deposit program came out, there's an article in Forbes that kind of lauded that you could, instead of putting money in your savings account and getting 0.002 interest, some of these coins you get like 4% interest, and like that's so much smarter to do that. And you can see why someone who wants to like have a little bit of a safety net would be like, I might as well like put my money and make 4% interest instead of 0.002% interest. But then they don't really account for when the value of that coin drops by 70%, and it's that 4% doesn't really help as much.
Right. They don't account for the fact that it's actually a Ponzi that they're getting involved with.
Yes.
So when did someone like Brian, the line cook, when did he you said he got involved seeing the email from Coinbase promoting the direct deposit program? Was how much of his paycheck was he diverting? And basically, how does that work? Do they just invest his money automatically into Bitcoin? Does he get to pick which crypto? Do they pick for him? Were they dropping it in some really shady coins? Like what was the process here?
That's a great question. Honestly, it works out great for Coinbase because in a way it takes the decision making out of the consumer's hand. Brian can't hesitate when Bitcoin is crashing to pay it. They're just like, well, I'm gonna swoop it away from your paycheck before you even see it. So basically, Coinbase like siphons up to his direct deposit payment, the payment platform, where you can kind of go in and see where you're paid, how much you're paid, when you're paid, and they just take off either all of it or a percentage of it. I think Brian was taking $600 a month, $300 from every paycheck. and putting it into. Then you can choose which coins you want. You can do Bitcoin, Ethereum. You can just do like a wide mix of them. People compare it to a 401k, but a 401k is at least like diversified by experts or people, not just like guys who like coins. And all the companies that you're investing in are actual companies with like utility. They're not just like coins whose value is based on making money from other people, a Ponzi. So he would take those $300 from every paycheck. It would just get split off. Coinbase would just put them automatically buy a certain percentage of Bitcoin and Ethereum, whatever else he was getting, and then that was it.
And they chose for him basically. Like he had no power over how the investments were made, or did he get to pick? Do you know if that's how Coinbase is?
Okay,
so he picked like Bitcoin, Ethereum. He stuck with the safe bets.
yeah. You'd think, yeah.
Right, which is at the very least, I think that's if you're gonna do it, I guess those are the ones to if you are someone who's got means, you can probably hold, and I don't know if we'll ever see those valuations in terms of Bitcoin and Ethereum hitting their peaks again. Maybe we will. I'm not gonna pretend to be Nostradamus here, but it's highly unlikely anytime soon we'll see that. So if you can afford to hold, sure, I'm sure those are safe bets still, regardless if you don't want to sell off and you just hold on. But Brian, I can't recall. Did you say what his annual salary was on here, or am I recalling from the piece? Why don't you just go ahead? Just anyway, how much was he making?
It was around 25,000.
So we're talking like Jesus Christ. We're talking almost half of his monthly take home. Actually, probably close to half, if not half, after taxes of his take home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
And more taxes, because you get taxed on the transaction of buying the crypto, and then you get taxed capital gains tax too. So you get taxed a ton more. Just like that in the other cons, in the cons column of the running pros and cons.
Right. So when did he do this? When did he connect his account to Coinbase and say, "All right, let's do this. I get your email. I'm sold."
Mm-hmm. It was February, and then he got out. He stopped doing it late June, after like everything was crashing.
February of this year.
So it's about 5 months. Yeah.
Holy all right, he got. Oh my God! All right, so let's really quick look up Bitcoin value in February. I know we're not talking peak prices here, but we're talking.
Around there.
We're talking in February in the mid 30s to mid 40s, high 40s actually, almost like 48K in terms of geez. And so about half. So he's lost more than maybe more than half of what he put in.
Yeah.
And
by.
Why did he?
It's not great.
Right. Why did he get out in June? Did he hope there'd be a turnaround? Like, did he think to stick it through? Like, I'm not talking about because he didn't even have to sell his holdings. He could have just, I'm assuming, just cut off the direct deposits once the crash happened. But he decided to keep doing it. And again, I'm not trying to blame him at all. I just want to understand the thinking behind it.
He didn't sell, but once it crashed, I think he realized that he didn't know the bottom, and then he was just like, he didn't want to look at it anymore, and he needed money, so he cut off Coinbase's little connection to his Paychecks, and he said he's deleted the apps, doesn't want to hear about crypto or talk about it until he hopefully checks in at a later date, and it's bounced back. I gotta feel awful for him because he thought this was going to be his way out, and it's opposite. It's going to stick him there for a little bit longer.
Oh, so he thought he would be able to eventually. Did he have like he thought he'd be able to eventually sell his holdings, and he would have made, I guess, double what he made, and he would have been able to leave his job. Was that what he was hoping for?
Yeah, he wanted to. His plan was to get a car and move to Milwaukee, get a place of his own.
Did he have a timeline for that based on all this? Like, what was his? Did he have like a real game plan mapped out here?
Yeah, I think it was a year. He thought if I invested for a year, and like the way it's going or is supposed to go, I'll have enough to potentially get a car, get a place of my own.
Right. So how easy was the process for him to connect to Coinbase and to disconnect?
Oh, it's easy. It's very easy. You basically just give Coinbase the access to your like company's payment portal, and then it's honestly like a few clicks of a button. It doesn't take much. You don't have to, go by regulators. You don't have to talk to your boss. You can just fucking do it in a couple minutes.
And that's hoping
what like flagged me. Oh, that's just kind of what stuck out to me when I first saw, because I saw the email too. Or I saw them tweeting about it, and that's like at the time I had left a different company. I had a 401k, and I was trying to be like, oh, what if I moved it to this company? And like, if you don't do it within like 30 days, you have to do all this paperwork. You get fined, and it's just like it's so many like stopgaps keeping me from just like accessing this money that's mine from this old company. And then I see Coinbase just being like, hey, a couple clicks of a button, just give us access to your paycheck.
Wow,
it's like, that's insane. It's wild.
Was it at the very least just as easy for him to cut ties too, or was that more of a process?
No, you can just turn it off basically.
Okay, well, that's good. After they've already vacuumed up the money, at least they let you turn the vacuum off really easy. Right.
Yeah. Very nice of them.
And so we know that he, and I wonder just how, I could tell you from my own, just knowledge of, and I didn't do any reporting like you did on this very specific thing. But from what I've seen, there's a lot more people like Brian than people like Kai, who at the very least seem to understand what he was getting himself into, even though he decided to go through with it anyway.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely the case. Yeah, with Kai, he kind of ended it being like, I know what I was getting into. This is the industry I'm in, and I chose it. And people, he's a true believer for what it's worth. You mentioned just quickly, Tether, and they completely melted down, right? And that was something he eventually was. Yes, yeah. He was eventually getting money after all the fees.
Tether will, by the way, we're just not there quite yet. But it'll happen.
Yeah, it's coming. And yeah, that was he would eventually just like take payments in stable coins, but those have not been as like stable as they purport to be. But yeah, I totally agree. I think there's like a lot more guys like Brian out there who just aren't as vocal on Twitter. Did this, invested money because they thought it was like gonna give them a leg up when they don't have any other opportunities for legs up, and it could get pretty ugly when the bottom falls out here.
Oh, absolutely. To really buoy that point and give it some real weight here, you included a few in your piece. You included a few Reddit posts that you had found specifically asking in the cryptocurrency subreddit users who. We'll read some of them right now, just so people can understand and hear from someone else's point of view. These are clearly people who are more like Brian than Kai. Came across this stuff. Maybe they saw the Super Bowl ad. These posts are all, by the way, from before the crash, which means that, but not too far before the crash. So we're talking like if any of these people went through with it, they're down at least half, if not more, of their earnings. These range from 3 to 6 months ago. And this is from one Reddit user. Coinbase offered me a direct deposit option. Received an email today offering me a direct deposit to Coinbase option. Just wanted to know if anyone has tried or currently utilizes this option. And if they do, whether or not it seems to be advantageous at all. I make a fairly decent bi-weekly income and normally DCA into my favorite cryptos on the same basis. I'm already the proud owner of the Coinbase Visa debit card. Oh my God, I could just and haven't had any issues nor complaints thus far. I use it quite often, and the cashback in my choice of a few different assets is pretty juicy. I don't fully trust Coinbase for obvious reasons, but this will eliminate a few steps into onboarding more of my fiat into crypto. I don't fully trust Coinbase, but I am ready to give them half of my income, no questions asked. I just added that last line to be. If I didn't say that though, honestly, I bet most people couldn't tell the difference because that's exactly what he just said. And then there's this other one, which is I don't. If you have it in front of you, maybe you could read this one. The second one there. It's incredible. The one using Coinbase's direct deposit has made me better at purchasing crypto. Go ahead if you don't mind. Jesus.
All right. He says, I've been purchasing crypto for a while now by taking a little bit from my 9-to-5 paychecks and door dashing on the side and dumping all of that into crypto. However, I found I would talk to myself out of doing it for various dumb reasons. It's the same reason many folks don't save for retirement or save in general. If it's not automated, you have to manually make the transfer. It tends to be harder to see the money leave than to have never seen it at all. Or it's easy to, quote, just do it in the morning and then you don't. Now I pay about 5% of 9-to-5 into it and all DoorDash earnings and don't even think twice. Great. Sorry, me. He continues. While the direct deposit isn't perfect, you can only choose one crypto as opposed to splitting it into your whole portfolio. It is a great start for bigger adoption. There's no fees to use it, and it takes the FUD away. Basically saying,
he
it
literally
helps me not.
And by the way, FUD is a crypto term for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Basically, when anyone is in a crypto advocate's eyes to chicken shit to do something, or AKA actually really careful and smart, which is what I guess that's not as catchy as FUD though, or they're just being skeptical about something. Crypto advocates like to mock those people for FUD. But anyway, basically this guy or gal, their second job is pointless because all their DoorDash earnings seemingly have evaporated once you factor in their paycheck amount that they've put in too. So they're basically working a side job that doesn't even that for months has not given them anything, quite frankly. And the interesting thing too is, again, I can't speak to this specific individual. Again, they're anonymous, so we don't even know. But there's a large overlap between libertarians and crypto, and a lot of libertarians think something like a social safety net program like Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, which it is not. But it's funny to see this individual literally argue for Social Security. That's what Social Security is. They take money from your paycheck before you even see it in order to make sure you, when you hit a certain age, can retire or supplement your retirement. And that's where those Social Security payments come in. The government gives you that money. It's amazing. It's amazing. And that's sort of like the thinking here too, that like if you just let them automatically, but also there are a number of various more trustworthy methods of saving for retirement that work the same way. Like people don't necessarily have any oversight over their 401k or other investments like that. Money just goes into it. So the idea that Coinbase's direct deposit program was the only way to do this is, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we have a real, along with the crypto problem, obviously there is a real financial education problem in this country.
Yeah, I mean, people used to complain about not knowing how to like balance a checkbook. I think the bigger problem is not knowing when to call like fraud or a scam when it's right there. I mean, because you can see in these posts how they talk themselves into it. They think it's a smart decision. They're avoiding the fees. They're averaging their cost with the DCA down a cost average, and so they convince themselves that it's a great decision to like not have to make the decisions and just take it out and just forget about it while Coinbase just siphons that money away every other week.
Right. And, we should mention for people who aren't familiar, Coinbase is the largest U.S. crypto exchange. It is become like the standard bearer, I guess, for like legitimacy in the mainstream like space for crypto. Like I would venture, I mean, I don't have to venture to guess. It's literally the case because of its spot as a cryptocurrency exchange, but it is what the majority of U.S. crypto investors decide to go with for their crypto exchange of choice. That's probably where they have their crypto wallet. That's clearly where they're actually making their trades. And so they view Coinbase as a more legitimate company in a space that's rife with scams, frauds, and overall shadiness.
Yeah, they were just indicted for insider trading today.
Right. We should mention it was a former Coinbase product manager. He got fired from the company after telling his brother and his buddies about new tokens that Coinbase was going to allow on their platform. So his brother and his buddy would buy those tokens before Coinbase would publicly announce that they were adding them to the platform, which means they got in low based on insider Coinbase information. And then when Coinbase would announce that these tokens were going to be listed, the brother and the friend would then turn around and sell as the tokens would pump on that Coinbase announcement. They made approximately, on both realized and unrealized gains, it's unclear based on the DOJ statement how much they've actually converted into fiat, but in total between both realized and unrealized, $1.5 million. I mean, crazy amount of money, but also really weird that you would like put it all on these guys can face 20 years in jail. It doesn't seems like it wasn't well thought out, honestly.
Yeah.
I could.
Yeah, it's a little low.
Yeah, I mean, I could see, Bernie Madoff money making the trade off, but 1.5 mil, I'll pass.
Not great.
Right.
Not great at all.
Right. And interestingly, Coinbase's biggest issue, it seems like from their own statement, was that in a follow-up to the DOJ charges, the SEC is charging everyone involved with securities fraud. And Coinbase got upset that SEC basically called 9 of these coin securities, i.e. more like stocks than commodities. And, crypto advocates have long held the belief that tokens are actually commodities, not securities. And that belief is based on the fact that commodities in this country are a lot less regulated. Very strong beliefs to have that be the reason why you believe in that.
Yeah.
What a coincidence. My beliefs happen to work in my favor.
Yeah.
This is, this piece was really incredible to read. Because I while we were talking, I pulled this up, and there were some critiques over the the salary amounts mentioned. Like I mentioned earlier, it's unclear what combination of salaries these sports stars put into crypto. But we're talking stars like Trevor Lawrence, Sean Culkin. I'm not a sports person, so if I'm messing up some of these names, oh well, sorry everybody. Odell Beckham Jr., Russell Okung, Andre Iguodala. I mean, we're talking anywhere from tens of thousands of dollars of their salary to millions of their dollars in salary, and we're talking of losses in the mid 30s to mid 60%, more than half of the salary that these stars turned in. And again, when you're already getting paid millions, in some cases, some of these guys, I'm sure it hurts. Guys who have, NFL players, for example, who have short careers and have to really make smart investments with the money they make for that short period of time where they're active. But for some of these stars, probably won't be that big of a deal. But they went ahead and publicly, flaunted that they were doing this to their fans. And no doubt their fans, based on their favorite sports stars' recommendation, went ahead and did the same. Hell, here in New York City, freaking the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, when he was inaugurated in January of this year, made a big hubbub about how he would take some of his salary, his first 2 or 3 paychecks, in Bitcoin. I would love to know, and this was all a push, by the way, because he really wants to make New York City a big hub for the crypto industry. I would love to know where Mayor Eric Adams's Bitcoin investment via his paychecks. I wonder how that turned out for him. I wonder how much he has right now if he was to sell, if he hasn't already.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of, we were talking about Coinbase. People see that as an institution. They see these athletes as reputable people. Like, you can see why they believe that this is a good and smart thing to do. And they get bought into it. And then, the other side of the coin is, pardon the pun, I guess, but I've interviewed a while back when there was a lot of discussion about is crypto addicting, or and there was the crypto rehab castle that a lot of people were joking on. I talked to a guy who was just he was a heroin addict for a while, and now he just checks crypto all day. And it's one has kind of replaced the other. And I think he knows that. But you talked about FUD earlier, and these are the guys that you don't hear from. Because if you say oh, I pulled out of my Coinbase direct deposit because I lost a shitload of money, you're going to get piled on by all the evangelists who are just fuck you don't know what you're talking about. Or, just say it they just believe that crypto is the way, and they just refuse to hear otherwise. So, that's why I like to find these guys who just otherwise aren't openly posting about how much money they lost, because they won't. And so you only hear the good. You only hear Tom Brady saying, "I got paid in crypto, it's great," and all the positives.
Right. So, a major aspect of all this that you brought up is that for a lot of these crypto people, it becomes part of their identity, which makes it hard for them to then turn around and realize that a part of them has been lying to them or deceiving them the entire time. I mean, it's weird because I'm sure obviously there are people it's gambling addicts, for example, face the same sort of thing where it becomes part of their identity. But I mean, at least someone could cut them off at some point. They have to go home, or the casino shuts them down because they don't have any more to play with, or whatever, or they're too drunk, so they get kicked out or whatever. But here there is nothing, and even with the stock market, I'm sure people get addicted to that, no doubt. But it closes down every day. It closes down, and over the weekend it shuts down people are forced to just step away. Crypto is 24/7. And like you said, I've heard stories of people who literally have ruined real life relationships with family members, significant others, because their face is addicted to checking the fucking line charts, the candlestick charts, and watching the minute by minute movement of whatever cryptos they're trading, whether they're investing in them themselves or whether they're looking which one to jump into next. It's like a drug, absolutely.
I also, I think a lot about like the .com bubble, which draws a lot of comparisons to crypto. But like back when that happened and that bubble burst, people weren't investing in those companies like with the click of a button on the phone that they use all the time. Like now there's just widespread, easy access, and so many people are investing in this, as opposed to the .com bubble, which just affected the people who were investors at the time. And so this is, I don't know, a lot of ways this could go poorly.
Right, basically. Right. Oh, there was one more individual in your piece that I wanted to bring up, Derek, because he had an interesting case. Because I hear this quite frequently from crypto advocates, whose one of their favorite use cases is remittances, sending money overseas to family, and they claim that it helps them save on fees. And without a doubt, sending money overseas has a lot of fees. But also, I have yet to be really convinced that crypto solves that problem. In fact, I've heard from people that they've done the math with their own family, and crypto would actually cost more to use. But I'm sure it's different for everybody. But this individual was doing the same thing, where he was getting 30 to 50% of his paycheck in Bitcoin, but did it because it was easier for him to send his money back to his family in Brazil. Is he still doing this for that, or has this caused him to look into Western Union, for example?
Yeah. So the kind of funny thing about this article is it was kind of in the works for a long time. Derek and Kai were both people I reached out to well before the crash. And I followed up with Kai and Derek. Kai responded. Derek didn't have much interest in kind of drilling down on his what's happened since. So I don't know.
Right.
But it seemed like it was a headache for Derek even at the time.
Right. I know as a fellow journalist myself, sometimes. And we can't put exactly what it means in writing, but sometimes just a no comment speaks many words.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, before I let you go, and I didn't want to spend too much time on this because your book hasn't come out yet. And I would love to have you back on to discuss this more in depth when your book does come out. But when I reached out to you, you had mentioned, and it was a great point, and I'm so glad you brought it up, that there is, in your work on your upcoming book on Google Glass, there was, some interesting overlap between, and you name one specific venture capitalist who I love, following to see what he has to say, because he's one of probably the biggest institutional, at least public backers of crypto, and that is the VC Marc Andreessen. And he was a big investor, and I'm sure you have lots to say about him in your book, in Google Glass. And he, for anyone wondering, now all these years after Google Glass, when did Google finally give up on Google Glass?
Commercially, about 2015.
Okay, so here we are.
Very quiet.
About officially, I feel like it was actually before that unofficially, but I feel like it had to have been like 2013 even, like many years earlier unofficially. But here we are, anywhere from 7 years to a full decade almost later. And Andreessen is no longer talking up wearable tech as the next big thing, but he's talking about Web3 as the next big thing. And he's invested heavily in a number of Web3 projects. And quite frankly, his VC firm, Andreessen Horowitz, have made out like bandits already in the Web3 space. Literally, if no one else has made money on Web3 yet, I could tell you these guys certainly have. Maybe the only people other than the founders who they've injected cash into. What is your take on, from working on this book and Marc Andreessen's name coming up and being such a integral part of what you covered with Google Glass? What is your take on his involvement with crypto and the Web3 space?
Well, I should say too that Marc Andreessen, I don't know if you remember on Google Glass, but one of the big takedowns was the white men wearing Google Glass tumbler. It was just it proved essentially who people who loved Google Glass were, which were just white guys wearing Google Glass. And Marc Andreessen was the namesake and the face that it was entirely based on. It was his picture.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that. Yes, him and his egg-shaped noggin, right? I totally forgot about that photo. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so prominent that Google auto-completed Marc Andreessen Google Glass for me when I typed in his name. They automatically just recommended Google Glass. I remember this photo. Yeah. Holy shit. Right. So
it's great.
So
honestly,
go ahead.
The parallels between, and I'm not even saying this to sling the book, but I think the parallels between Google Glass and crypto, just in the way it's marketed, how it's just kind of fueled by just tech evangelists who think this is the only way forward and this is the future. How it's purported by celebrities and athletes, and this is how you buy this stupid NFT to be rich and appear like you are in the upper crust and on the cutting edge. There's a lot of parallels between this and Google Glass, and it's pretty interesting. And it's probably because it's all propped up by the same people, or at least institutions.
Right. And you'll have to return so we can get more into the Andreessen world of tech investments, because my take on this really quick in summary is that Marc Andreessen has found and really that whole VC AZ16 whatever. They are really into this because they've basically created their very own Wall Street for themselves. It's like their very own, old finance system, but for these new money tech bros, specifically really in this one specific VC firm. There are others, but these guys are so heavily involved in so many of these well-funded Web3 projects that are popping up. These guys invested in Solana. I believe they have invested in Axie Infinity, the big play-to-earn game. And on top of all this, these guys have been asked previously on public interviews and podcasts to explain why they believe in Web3 so much, and to give people to explain the use cases for it. And while they've put massive amounts of money into this space and are telling people, when it's just them releasing statements that this is the next big thing, when asked in a conversation, could not coherently explain what even Web3 was, let alone any sort of utility for it. Have you seen some of those interviews? They're amazing. They're really fantastic.
Yeah, they know their jargon to talk around it, but when you kind of sift through, just you're not saying anything. You're not saying anything. There's no use.
Right.
These are all
Absolutely.
words.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they'll keep going, which I guess will give me lots more fodder for the show. Quinn
Right.
Myers, author of the upcoming book, Remember the Internet Volume 3, Google Glass. Thank you so much for joining me today. And here, let me give you space. I've mentioned the book and where people can find your work in the publication you work for. But please feel free to let people know where they can find you online, like on Twitter or wherever, or literally anything else you'd like to name drop, promote. The floor is yours.
Not much. People can follow me on Twitter at QUINMYERS. That's about it. You can do that. That's fine. But I appreciate you having me on, Matt. This is great.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. And when the book comes out, let me know, and we'll have to talk. Instead of the last 5-10 minutes of the episode, not even 10 minutes, last 5 minutes of the episode, we have to do a whole episode on these guys. Just amazing stuff. Just incredible. Take care, Quinn. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
All right. Appreciate it. See you, Matt.
Really looking forward to getting more into the VCs behind some of this stuff on future episodes of the show. Also, do expect, and we lightly touched on it because the news broke literally hours before my interview with Quinn, but do expect more in the future on the Coinbase insider trading scheme. A lot of future material just in this episode. And to support these future episodes, please go to patreon.com and subscribe to the show. Your funding helps this program grow. Really, thank you for your support. I could not do this without my patrons. And you can become one by going to patreon.com/MattBinder. You can also go to youtube.com/MattBinder. If you catch the YouTube premiere, you join me for the post-show live stream or any of the live streams. You could always drop a one-off donation in the form of a super chat during the live stream. Or if you go to any replay, you can drop a super thanks, which is the equivalent of a super chat. Also, follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/MattBinder, and don't let Amazon keep your free Twitch Prime subscription money. Don't let them. Bezos makes enough. Connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and you get that free Twitch Prime subscription every month. It just takes a second to do. Don't let it go to waste. Scameconomy.com for all the podcast links if you prefer to consume this show as an audio-only product. And don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Doing so helps push this show up the rankings on the podcast charts and helps more people find Scam Economy. And with that being said, I think that wraps up this episode of Scam Economy. Wait, did some other crypto lender just go under? Oh, no, okay. Whew. Well, at least for the next few minutes while I close this show. So I better close things up here real quick. I'll see you all next time on the Scam Economy.